a very dear friend of mine and really one of the experts in the field of marketing, Gary Smith. Gary, I can't tell you which button, but just keep pushing buttons till something goes forward on that thing.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thanks for those kind words. I would tell you, no one's more surprised to hear that those kind words than me. In fact, after last night listening to Brittany talk, you'd think I'd levitate up here or something today, and I can assure you that's not going to happen. Before I get started, hopefully I might not have the answers for you for your marketing endeavors, but hopefully I can share some insights with you and some truisms that we know in consumer marketing that maybe can apply to what you're doing as you go back. But before we get started, I got a few housekeeping things. For those of you, I bought this from a street vendor, and I've been dying to use it. For those of you who are going to wander to Austin tonight in search of some nightlife, let me explain what you're in for. So this area here, if you were going to ask somebody, I'm going to Austin, the first thing they're probably going to say to you is, oh, you got to go to 6th Street. So 6th Street is about right here, as it says 6th Street. It starts here and goes to about here. It's a little tiny strip. And it's very similar to Bourbon Street in New Orleans or Beale Street in Memphis or, where that main strip in Nashville. But what they don't tell you is Austin, the entire downtown area, can't really see that, but this entire downtown area is made up of bars and nightclubs. So if you're going to go look for music, really the area that has music is up on Red River, where the big venues are like Stubbs or Mohawk. A lot of music up there. I don't see anybody in here with a fedora. The hipsters a couple years ago bought all the houses down here off of Rainey Street and turned them into bars. So it might look like houses, but each house is a separate bar, and that's where all the hipsters like to hang out. If you're a tourist and at a convention, you're probably in this area right here, around the convention center. 6th Street is what we call Dirty Six. It's where the average age of the people on 6th Street, somewhere south of 21. It's where all the kids go. And the adults really play on the other side of Congress on what we call West 6th. And if you're looking for you might get directed to South Congress down here where it's kitschy cool, keep Austin weird kind of place, but there are no bars and nightclubs down there. It's where you might find pizza and food and really a lot of people that are just hanging out. So if you think about Austin and you want to go see entertainment, don't just think about 6th Street, because you'll end up on Dirty Six and you'll say, I don't get it. I don't understand this Austin hype. When this entire area down here is nightclubs and bars. And I tell you this today because, hopefully this does help in your quest for entertainment. But really the point of this is that even as you characterize Austin as a music city, and by the way, if your deal is country music, you probably want to head south down to San Antonio. There are bars sprinkled around Austin that have country music, but mostly they're just to get college girls up on mechanical bulls. So it's not really a country music town. But as you characterize Austin, you would characterize it as Dirty Six. But in fact, it's very diverse. And a city that is about 1.5 million people, extremely diverse. And the point of this message really is that despite how homogeneous this country looks with Walmarts and Dollar Generals in every corner, it's a very diverse country. And you can't approach marketing with a cookie-cutter approach. You can't market to Philadelphia the same way you market to LA or to San Antonio or to Austin or to New York. You have to take a very local approach to your marketing efforts. So while that might have been entertaining, it did have a point, and that point is diversity. Not only do we have diversity in age demographics, but we also have diversity in cultural demographics and geography demographics. We know this in the beverage business. We develop marketing plans by city. As Jerry said, I'm the CEO of the 6th largest soft drink company in the country, and we have numerous brands. I've heard stories this morning, stories about Big Red. We bought All Sport immediately after buying Big Red in 2007. And every year we've bought a new brand and kind of grown through acquisitions. Anyone in here from Portland, Oregon? Thomas Kemper is Northwestern craft brewed root beer. Nesbitt, a little bit older crowd would recognize Nesbitt. At the turn of the century, there were 2 growers, the Sunkist grower and the Nesbitt growers. And Nesbitt was big in the 60s. It sponsored Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Davis Cup, World Cup, big brand, but just really didn't keep up with Sunkist and really doesn't have a home today as an orange. A little bit better view of our logos for those race fans. This car will run on Sunday at the Texas Motor Speedway in the Cup race, and also in Phoenix the following weekend. Now, as I peel through these, I'm going to go really fast. And the point really is to get you to feel Big Red. Big Red, anyone from San Antonio? You might not be surprised in the San Antonio folks to know that we outsell Coca-Cola in San Antonio. It's the largest 2-liter, it's the number 1 2-liter for the 8 years in a row in HEB, which is the largest retailer down there. It's a big brand down there. Anyone from Louisville? Louisville, Kentucky is our 2nd largest market. So you might think, well, Big Red's a Hispanic brand, and while we pride ourselves on the fact that we're very knowledgeable and experts at Hispanic marketing, there are not a lot of Hispanics in Louisville, which is our 2nd largest market. In fact, southern Indiana, I'll do about 1 million cases in Seymour, Indiana, in 17 JCs and 8 Walmarts down there. So around the country, big brand. Lima, Ohio is a big city for us. Anyone from Ohio? Big city. And the point really of these slides, and I'm going really fast here, the point really is that you have to know your brand. We have tremendous resource when it comes to shopper marketing, consumer insights, consumer behavior, and consumer products goods companies, even our size, put a tremendous amount of effort at understanding what the consumer wants, when they want it, how they shop for it, and really understand the consumer. And I would encourage you, and the point of these slides really, and the point of Big Red, is to get you to understand your brand. What are you selling? And you have to thoroughly understand it. I would say the Dr. Pepper company has probably north of 50 people just focused on consumer behavior, consumer insights, and shopper marketing.
Nothing says summer like Big Red and barbecue. Introducing the new Big Red barbecue bottles, reinventing how you enjoy Big Red. You're welcome.
You'd be shocked at how many people think that's a real commercial and that's a real product. It's amazing. We used to get at Red Bull. We used to get the what we call the drunk dials, but the consumer call-ins to the consumer affairs line, and we'd publish them because they were just hilarious. And we see the same thing with this commercial. But people who call and say, where can I get that? I saw it on the internet. Unbelievable. But I know today you don't want to talk about Big Red or Giants or Nesbitt or Allsport. You really want to understand Red Bull. So I have, in the spirit of the age of 140 characters, I have exactly an 18-minute presentation, so I have plenty of time for Q&A. As I was preparing for this talk, I understood that 18 minutes is the perfect time for a presentation, and that's exactly what I have. So, just quickly, I'm going to take you through Red Bull. This is a very complicated marketing model, and I'm not going to spend any time on it. You kind of get it. You know the brand. You understand the brand. But we really kind of boiled it down to a very simple model, and that was creating awareness, getting trial, turning that trial into usage, and then turning that usage into heavy usage. And we had groups of resources of people who focused and worked on each one of these categories. And this simple model that we used, you have to know it, and if you know it, you have to try it. If you have to try it, you have to believe in it. And if you believe in it, you'll love it. And that was just really, it really came down to that simple.
Red Bull gives you wings.
So you all know the Red Bull commercials, and really you look at them, you say, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Especially probably the first time you saw it. That specific commercial in 2003, I sent to Fox. I gave them $3.6 million for a Super Bowl ad, and that was supposed to air on Super Bowl in 2003. And everything was fine. They sent me tickets. I went down to New Orleans and stayed at the Ritz-Carlton and had 50-yard line seats and was ready to go. Right just a couple days before the game, they called me up and said, yeah, we're not comfortable with that commercial. We're not going to air it. And turns out that Budweiser stepped in and decided they didn't want Red Bull at the Super Bowl, so they bought the ad out for much more than we had paid. So that gives you some insight into competitive marketing or competitive landscape when it comes to soft drinks. But the point of that commercial really was to know. I mean, we didn't really want you to understand what Red Bull was when we ran these commercials, but we wanted every fifth grader in the country to say, Red Bull gives you wings. And it worked. And then once you knew it, we started to build aspirational reference points with lifestyle marketing so that you could look back and say, oh yeah, I know that brand. And one thing that people don't know is when we first started Red Bull, around the world, 90% of the volume for Red Bull globally was going out of nightclubs, and only 10% out of the petrol stations and retail outlets. And we took a little different approach in the U.S. We turned it over. And around the world, Red Bull was cheap, and it was 75 cents a can in the gas stations. And it was obviously very expensive in nightclubs and bars. But in the U.S., we took a different approach. And the reason we did that is we knew our market. And in this country, it only took me about $9 million to buy every nightclub in the country. Contracted with every one of them, signed exclusive contracts. And really only about 10% of our volume came from there. When we hit $1 billion, I think we were just under 20% coming from Walmart. And we had a lot of discussion about this because the purists who were creating a lifestyle brand really didn't care how much we sold. I remember having a discussion with a very high-ranking marketing official who said he didn't want to sell one can. It was all about the lifestyle. And we saw this develop really over the years. As it got bigger and bigger and bigger, they became a lifestyle brand and less about the drink. But we put it out because we knew our market, we knew our consumer, and we knew that in the U.S., the shopper was at Walmart and Hess and 7-Eleven, and not so much in nightclubs. We use the nightclub, as you would have seen in that video, to really sharpen the image and get you to understand the brand and the brand imagery. And then you would pick it up as you stopped to fill up with gas or went to a Walmart for shopping. The last thing I'll leave you with today is if you're not marketing to millennials, you need to be. I sat last week at a conference in Palm Beach and listened to a political pundit spew for about an hour and a half on millennial marketing. And I'm gonna spare you those details. But the fact of the matter is there are 4.7 million people 23 years old today. And the second largest group's 22, and the third largest group's 24. So by 2020, 57% of the population will be millennials or younger. And what we call in the beverage business, we call these entry point consumers. And it's pretty powerful to see that crowd. And there's tons and tons of marketing material on the internet about millennials and how to market to millennials.